What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Martin. So this is a movie that I've wanted to see for quite a while. I've known about it. I just never got around to watching it. It happened to come on Tubi recently for free, so I thought, what the heck, let me check it out. And I was not disappointed. This was a solid movie, super unique take on, a vampire story. I absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed it. Um, the reason I found out about this is because there's a movie that's similar to it that came out more recently. I think it came out in like the 2010s. It's called Midnight Sun, and that movie I really like. It's similar where it's like the main vampire doesn't have fangs, and like a lot of like the normal vampire tropes don't really work on him. So like I don't think garlic affects him or anything like that, but he does, like, he can't go in the sun and stuff. He does get like affected by the sun in Midnight Sun. uh, so yeah, one thing led to another. I watched that movie. I thought it was awesome, and after watching that I found out about this. And I mean, I think this is a pretty well regarded movie. I looked, um, I don't know if it was on Rotten Tomatoes or something else, but it had like a 90% score. So, I mean, I feel like people regard this as a classic. And I mean, it's directed by George Romero. I mean, he's just a complete icon. So, I mean, speaking of that, yeah, he makes a cameo. He's like the priest. And then Tom Savini is in this. He's not like a major character, but I mean, he's got some decent screen time going on. I'm like, what the heck? That's Tom Savini. Both him and George Romero are like super young in this, but they have like a lot of dialogue, a lot of lines going on. So it was super cool to see them. I wonder if Tom Savini did all the makeup and gore. Speaking of that, that was something I wanted to touch on. Okay, so this movie was made in the 70s, and I haven't seen a ton of 70s horror movies, but this is like later 70s. So I mean, a couple late 70s horror movies that I can think of are the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween. And you all probably already know those movies have like virtually no blood in them. Like all the violence is like suggested, or even if it's on screen, it's like you're not really seeing any blood. This movie, I was like pleasantly surprised, because for a 70s movie, I thought it was very bloody. And some of the scenes where he's you know trying to like extract blood from people are like, they were making me cringe. Like he gets these little like razors and he slits people's wrists, and I'm just like, I was just cringing big time. I was like, oh geez. Like, I think I even said that. I was like, oh my goodness, because that was like tough to watch. And I mean, you pretty much see everything. Like, you see him, especially in the beginning, you see him like slit this girl's wrist, and you see all the blood coming out, and he's like stabbing people with needles. And then like later on he gets like broken glass and he's slitting people's wrists. So I mean, a lot of blood and kind of gory. Not really that gory, but I mean, you do see like the wrist get slit and stuff, and him drinking blood and getting all bloody. So I was super surprised about that for a 70s movie. But I mean, it's different because it's not like a slasher. It's like a vampire movie. So it's not like he's out here like chopping people's heads off. Like, if you made a vampire movie with no blood, like, I don't really think that would work at all. So this had to be a little bit bloodier. But speaking of the blood looked so weird in this. It was it was just like the brightest red you could imagine. It looked like bright red paint. Like, it looked so fake. I don't know. I think that's like, maybe that's the thing in 70s movies. I don't know. I remember, I think it was like, yeah, Suspiria, the beginning of Suspiria, they have that same looking blood where it's just like bright red. I don't know. It looks pretty fake, but maybe they didn't have like the same mixture that they had like that in the 80s or like nowadays. Like maybe they hadn't perfected fake blood yet, but yeah, that was looking like some bright red paint. That was not looking like blood whatsoever. But I mean, I wasn't tripping about it. I didn't really care, but it was just something I noticed. I'm like, man, that's not how blood looks. It looked like thick. It looked like tomato soup. You know, it looked like tomato juice or like a, actually tomato juice isn't even that thick, but yeah, it looked like creamy tomato soup or something. Like it looked like, wait, like you got some thick ass blood going on. Like what do you got? Tomato soup in your veins? Like you got some like strawberry smoothie going on or something? Like that junk was thick, man. Like I don't know. Yeah, so overall, uh, I'm just looking I'm just looking at my notes just so you know. I don't know. Like why is he looking down? What is he grabbing? Blah blah blah. Just checking out my notes. But yeah, overall, this movie was like super chill for the most part. It's like, I feel like this is not that I'm like super well versed with 70s movies, like I said, but the 70s horror movies that I've seen, they're a lot slower paced. They're more of like a slow burn. There's not a whole lot going on, but when stuff's going on, it's like almost more impactful. This was the same way. Like for the most part, the movie was really chill, and it was just like Martin doing random like daily activities, like him doing his job and talking to his family and talking to this girl that he gets with. Like there wasn't a lot of crazy stuff going on, but it wasn't boring at all. Like if I describe it, it might sound like it was boring, but it was just like chill. It was just like chill, but in like a good way. It was just like relaxing, and for the most part, it was just like a drama. But then when he was like stalking a victim, it was intense. Like the beginning. In the beginning, he's on this train, stalking a victim. That gets crazy, and then later on, there's this sequence where there's like this girl that he's trying to kill, and then she's like cheating on her husband, so her her guy friend or boyfriend or whoever, her friend that she's cheating with is there, so he like kills both of them. And that was intense because he's like creeping around the house and he's like trying to put him to sleep, and it it was super intense. Like it was weird because like it would catch you off guard because like I said, like most of the movie is chill, and then it'll go just from like 0 to 100. So then once it's like at 100, you're just like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? Because it's difficult because he doesn't really have like supernatural powers or fangs going on. So that's what he does. He has these big needles, and he has some drug in there that puts people to sleep. So he has to like sneak in people's houses, put them to sleep. Then when they're asleep, he like sucks their blood, and he's got to like he doesn't have fangs, so he's got to like slit their wrists or something like that. Speaking of all that, I mean, it's like a refreshing take on the vampire genre because, I mean, what besides Midnight Sun, which I talked about, but that came out after, so it's probably inspired by this. But like, what other vampire movie can you think of where the vampire doesn't have fangs, doesn't have supernatural powers? Like I like this like subtle approach, this more like grounded take to a vampire story. Like I like, you know, vampire movies where they're flying around and doing this and that and they have all these crazy powers. That's cool too, but I mean, I feel like this stands out. This is just unique, and that kind of like it adds to like the chill factor. It's just kind of like it's like a grounded, realistic approach. It's not super like Hollywood. There's no like crazy action or explosions. It's just kind of like chill and slow, and the vampire character, he's like a shy character. He's not this like charismatic over the top character. He's just like this shy guy, and he's just like a normal guy. He's like, you know, he talks about like he didn't even want to be alive because he's all different. He's like a vampire, and everyone's like been trying to kill him forever and stuff. So I thought it was super unique. But like even though it was like a different take on the vampire story, they did kind of mess with the traditional vampire tropes. So his cousin, who's like way older, but he's older. He looks like he's like 20, but he's really supposed to be 84. So like the whole time I kept thinking like that's his cousin. I was like, shouldn't that be like his uncle or like grandfather or something? But I kept forgetting like, oh yeah, he's supposed to be 84. So yeah, that would be his cousin. But yeah, they play with like the traditional vampire tropes, like the cousin puts garlic on all the doors and crosses, but like none of that does anything. And then later in the story, he puts on fangs and does all this makeup and puts on like the vampire cape. So um, it's cool that they like alluded to all the normal vampire stuff, but then he's always like, no, that's all wrong. Like he goes on this, he gets like a phone in his room, and he calls into this radio show all the time, and they call him the Count, and he just talks about being a vampire, and they of course just think he's crazy, but everyone loves it, and they think it's super entertaining. But he's always like, no, 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 that's all wrong. Like that's, you know, there's no magic with it. That's what he always says. He's like, there's no magic. So he just like goes on the phone and calls this radio station, just like explains to people like how it really is to be a vampire, and he like debunks like all the myths related to it. I can't enunciate, but yeah. So that was cool. I didn't even write that down, but I wanted to bring up the whole radio thing where they call him the Count, and he's just like schooling everyone on real life vampire stuff. That was awesome. Let me take a little break here and check my notes, see what else I have to talk about, because I'm jumping all over the place here. Yeah, so I talked about him being 84 years old, and what I wrote down. I mean, I wasn't even trying to be funny. I just wrote down he's like a 84-year-old virgin, and he gets with this this older woman. But I mean, to him, she's like a younger woman, because he's 84, but she's like probably like a 40-year-old housewife, and he gets with her. Actually, now that I'm going into this, I'm just going to get into the plot summary, because I haven't even done a plot summary, so I'm just going to do that. So yeah, basically, the main character is Martin. He's a vampire. He's 84 years old. In the beginning, he's on a train. He goes to live with his cousin and his other relative, who's like a younger girl. I forgot how she's related to him. But while he's in town, he's not supposed to kill anyone in the town. His cousin said, you know, don't kill anyone in the town. So he's like going to other towns to kill people. He pretty much only kills women. Like he only tries to kill women. So basically throughout the whole movie, he's just doing like mundane daily stuff. Like he gets like a job, he like delivers groceries, and he just kind of like hangs with his family and just does like mundane stuff. But then every once in a while he sneaks out to another town, and he'll like stalk women and, you know, kill them and suck their blood. And, you know, that's his thing. Like throughout the movie it shows flashbacks to him back in the day, where, you know, he was being like chased and they're trying to kill him. So yeah, he nowadays he has that, because he was, it was like harder to get away back then. So yeah, his whole thing is he has like a system, and he never gets caught because he's been doing it for so long. So like he puts them to sleep, and then he kills them, sucks their blood, makes it look like a suicide. But once he gets with this housewife, you know, he's like never had like a girlfriend before. He's like never had sex before or anything. So like he gets with her, and you know that's his whole thing too. Like he never gets close to people. He like never has friends. He never has girlfriends or anything. He just he just like because then that would like make it easier for him to get caught. So he just kind of stays to himself. Every once in a while, he like kills someone, sucks their blood, and he like has a system down. But once he starts like making friends and like once he starts getting with this girl, he gets distracted and he starts getting sloppy. And towards the end, he starts slipping. He's like killing these homeless people, sucking their blood. He almost gets caught a bunch of times. Like the police almost catch him. It's a whole thing. So yeah, he's losing his edge. And I mean, I'm just gonna get into spoiler territory. I'm just gonna get into the ending because now that I'm thinking about it, I might as well talk about it. But yeah, just warning if you haven't seen the movie. Spoilers ahead. So this housewife that he's getting with, like at one point she's like really sad and he's like it's like right after they had sex, he's like he calls it sexy time though. It's funny. He's like, oh, I've never had a sexy time with a blah blah blah, which is funny. Like who calls it that? Just call it sex, my guy. I don't know. But anyways, this chick's like super sad after they have sex and he's like, what's wrong? Like, what do you think, you're gonna like have a baby or something? But anyways, so it's, you find out later that she killed herself because she was like super depressed. So she like took a bunch of pills. I think she took pills. Yeah, she took a bunch of pills and like slit her wrists. And then, you know, Martin's cousin finds out about her killing herself, but he thinks that Martin did it. So like Martin's in his bed and his cousin just wakes him up and just stabs him in the chest with a giant stake, and then the credits roll, like the movie just ends abruptly. So I mean, kind of a downer ending, and it was kind of an abrupt ending. Like I enjoyed the movie overall, but it just like it felt like the movie was just like going at like a nice pace and then it just like stopped. Like it's like a car like going 100 miles per hour and then just like hitting the brakes as hard as possible. Like the end was like jarring. I was just like okay, like the movie's over. Like what? Like it was just like no build up. It was just like he wakes up, he gets killed, credits. Like the ending was like a little disappointing, but it kind of made sense with the story and you know, I don't know, that's the whole thing. His cousin said like if you kill anyone in the town, he's gonna kill him. So the ending was fine, but it was like a little bit abrupt, you know. But I mean, what are you gonna do? You gotta end the movie somehow. So I mean, it was kind of sad that he died, but at the same time, like if you really like, I liked his character and I thought he was cool, but then if you like really think about his actions, like he did some he does some bad stuff. Like I don't even want to get into it on YouTube, but I mean, besides the killing, he does some other stuff with the ladies, and it's a little dark. Like when the movie started and I saw that stuff happening, like at first I thought he was just taking off their clothes because he didn't want to get blood everywhere. He didn't want to get blood on his clothes. But I'm like, oh, this is where it's going. I'm like this Martin character, he's kind of super messed up, you know. But yeah, so it's like, it was like at first I was kind of sad when he died, but then I'm like, you know what? He was kind of like not the best person. So I guess it's like, I don't know. It's weird too because he's got like an innocence to him. It's weird because that's what I'm saying. Like I thought he was cool. Like he was like had some swag. He was like had the cool hairstyle going on. He was like rocking the sunglasses, but like he'd be doing some cool stuff, and he had like the vampire thing going on. But then it's like some of that other stuff, I'm just like, I don't know, my boy. Like, I don't know about all that. But yeah. So that was the ending. I was kind of rambling on for a little bit, but let me see what else I was trying to talk about. Oh yeah, speaking of him being creepy, like I said, there's like a younger girl who lives with them for a little bit, and she's his relative. I forgot how they're related, but like he's checking her out on some like, dude, like what are you doing? Like, I mean, it's his relative, dude. It's like what is he trying to like get with his? I don't know, man. I don't know. You can't be checking out your relatives, my boy. Like, get with the program. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This cat was a little bit he had some creepy vibes going on. Um, I talked about the story being unique. Oh yeah. So when he explains what it's like they're like, "Can you go in the sun?" He's like, "Yeah, I can go in the sun, but it hurts my eyes." And then he's like talking about when he doesn't have like blood for a long time, he gets the shakes. And I thought I kind of well, yeah, he didn't refer to it as the shakes, but he like gets shaky when he doesn't have blood. Like that's all he said about that. But I was kind of thinking about like it's almost like a drug withdrawal because like people who you know are alcoholics, if they have like a dependence on alcohol, if they don't drink, they have like withdrawals, and part of that is like they get the shakes. So that's what I thought like so when he doesn't have blood, it's like almost like it feels like he's going through like a drug withdrawal. So he probably just has all these crazy symptoms, like he's like withdrawing from the blood. He has all these crazy symptoms that he's just like in like extreme discomfort. So like that's why he has to like feed again and kill people and get their blood. And then so like I said earlier, there's flashbacks throughout the movie of him like in the 1800s, killing people and getting chased by people and blah blah blah. And that shows the audience that like, okay, he really is that old, he really is a vampire. But if it weren't for that, this movie could like totally be up for interpretation. Like, is he really a vampire? Is it all in his head? Is he just crazy and he just kills people and sucks their blood? Because like I said, he says it himself, like there's no magic, like there's no fantastical elements about him. Like he doesn't have any powers. He can go out during the day. So like, I mean, other than him drinking blood, like there's nothing. He doesn't have fangs. Like there's he just looks and acts. Well, he acts a little weird, but you know what I mean. He's just pretty much like a normal human. So if it weren't for the flashback scenes, this movie could be like, is he a vampire? Is he not? Because that's even like people think he's crazy. They're like when he's like, I'm 84. Everyone's like, you need to go to a doctor. They're like, you need to go to like a mental hospital. So yeah, like if it weren't for that like that would kind of be unique if it was like, well, is he a vampire or is he just crazy? Is it in his head? But I like the fact that he was like legit a vampire. I don't know. I thought that was cool. That'd be kind of weird if it was like all in his head. Sometimes that's like a cop out in movies. Like you'll find out like, oh, it was just a dream or it was all in their head, and you're like, man, I just wasted 90 minutes watching that. Like what? That's just like such like a cheap, like lazy ending or revelation. You know, it's like that's played out. So I'm glad that he was like actually a vampire. What am I smacking my lips? I hate when I do that in these videos. But let me think here. I think for the most part, I talked about everything. Yeah, pretty much talked about everything. So, I mean, like I said, I've wanted to see this movie for a long time. I thought it was gonna be good. I had kind of high. Well, actually, I wouldn't say I. Well, like I wanted it to be good. I'm like, man, this, because I like that Midnight Sun movie. So I'm like, man, I hope this is good. Like, because I like the concept of like a vampire with no fangs, like a more realistic vampire. Like, I like that in Midnight Sun. So I'm like, I want to see another movie like that. I thought it was like super unique. So I was, really excited to see this, but I would say I my expectations were in the middle. I'm like, maybe it's really good, maybe it sucks. Like the trailer didn't really sell me, but movie trailers suck. So, I mean, I was excited to check this out, and it honestly exceeded my expectations. Like, I was not bored at all. I thought it was super cool. It was just, it was a good time. Like, the scenes where he's full vampire mode, like, are crazy. The chill stuff where you just kind of get in his head and you just see him as like a normal guy, like that's cool. All the, like, the nods to vampire stuff, the little cameos, like this was a super solid movie. Um, I mean, I think this is like regarded as a classic. It's got a 90%. I think this is regarded as a classic, and I can totally see why. I mean, this movie rocked. So if you're a fan of George Romero, if you're a fan of vampire movies, if you're just a horror fan in general, I would say this is a must watch. Um, Check it out. I mean, right now when I'm recording, uh, it's free on Tubi. But I mean, I would even if when you're seeing this, it's not free on Tubi. Like, it would be worth picking it up for a couple bucks. I wouldn't spend too much on it, but it's definitely worth. I mean, yeah, this would be good to like add to the collection. So, yeah, this movie was awesome. Uh, I loved it. So that's all I have to say about it. Thank you all for watching, and peace out.